$3.3 million. That is what it costs to buy your 3 competitors in 1 year. Every rival you have. You run a small cleaning company, 14 accounts, 9 people, a used van, and a name nobody knows. For 10 years they tried to bury you. You think this is a story about winning. It is not. It is about the day you own your enemy, because you inherit his problems too. 7 out of 10 acquisitions fail, almost never on the price, almost always after, in the people. One of your 3 deals almost takes everything down with it. You will not know which one until it is already burning. Level 1. The rival. You clean office buildings at night. That is the business. You show up when everyone else goes home. You empty the bins. You wax the floors. You leave before the first person arrives. The whole point is that nobody ever sees you. You carry other people's keys. Every account is a ring of them. Front door, suite door, supply closet, an alarm code taped inside your head. 14 buildings, 14 rings. You know which doors stick. You know which lobbies smell like burnt coffee at 6 in the morning. This is not a glamorous business. It is a boring one, and boring is why it is beautiful. Every office needs it. Nobody wants to do it. The contracts renew while you sleep. You started with 1 account and a vacuum in the back of a used van. You built it 1 building at a time. Undercut, outwork, show up when the last guy did not. And for 10 years, 1 man has been in your way. His name is Sal. Sal has been cleaning this town since before you owned a mop. He is older, heavier, slower now, but he took the first real account you ever chased, a 4-story medical building. You bid it fair. He bid it lower on the last day, and he smiled at you in the parking lot afterward like it was nothing. You have hated him ever since. Not loudly, quietly. The way you hate a man you see at the same supply store, loading the same jugs of floor stripper into a van older than yours. You nod. He nods. Neither of you means it. He beat you on 3 more bids after that. You beat him on 2. You kept a mental scoreboard he did not know existed. You built your whole company partly to beat a man who packed his gloves the same way you did. Then one gray morning, you pull into your lot before dawn, and Sal's van is already there, parked, engine off. Sal behind the wheel, both hands still on it, looking at your little building like he is deciding something. Your enemy is waiting in your parking lot, and he is not here to take another account. Level 2. The first call. He rolls the window down. He does not say good morning. He says, "We should talk. Inside if you have coffee." You make the worst coffee in the county. He drinks it anyway. And Sal tells you the thing you never imagined a man like him would say. He is done. His knees are gone. His back is worse. His son sells insurance in another state and wants nothing to do with buckets and second shift. Sal has 9 accounts, a good name, and nobody to hand them to. He could just close, lock the vans, let the contracts scatter to whoever grabs them. But he does not want that. He wants the work to go somewhere. And here is the part that lands like a punch. He would rather sell it to you, the man who fought him fair for a decade. Not to a stranger, to you. You sit there holding a bad cup of coffee, and the scoreboard in your head goes quiet. Then he says the number. He wants $750,000 for the whole thing. You almost laugh. You do not have $750,000. You do not have a tenth of it. And this is where you learn how these deals actually work. Sal made about $250,000 a year off those 9 accounts. Owner's pay, once everything was covered. Businesses like his sell for about 3 times that. 3 times $250,000 is $750,000. That is where his number comes from. It is not greed. It is the math everyone in this trade quietly knows, but you still do not have it. So Sal does the thing that makes the whole game possible. He carries the paper himself. You put down $100,000. That much you can scrape together. The other $650,000 Sal loans to you, a seller note. He becomes the bank. You pay him back over 6 years, out of the money his own company keeps making after you own it. Run that back. The business pays for itself, with Sal's earnings, on Sal's patience, out of Sal's old accounts. Your $100,000 buys a company that makes $250,000 a year. You sign the papers on a Thursday, and Sal stands up and he puts out his hand, a wide, calloused hand, 40 years of bleach and cold water in it. You shake it, 10 years of hating this man, and it ends in a handshake in your ugly little office. He hands you a coffee can full of keys, every building he ever cleaned, warm from his pocket. The deal is done. Now you have to make the math real. Level 3, Competitor 1. The first month is a mess. Sal's crews do not know you. Your crews do not know his buildings. 2 of his people quit in the first week because change scares them. You cover their routes yourself at 2 in the morning, running a buffer across a lobby floor you now own. Then it settles. And you watch the thing that makes men do this for a living. You had 1 office. Now you close Sal's. 1 rent, not 2. You had 1 insurance policy. His folds into yours, cheaper per building. You buy floor stripper by the pallet now, not the jug, and the price drops. 2 dispatchers become 1. 2 piles of paperwork become 1. Sal's company made $250,000 alone. Yours made $200,000 alone. Together, you would think that is $450,000. It is more. Because all the doubled costs collapse into 1. The savings alone add almost $150,000 a year. The combined company clears close to $600,000. You did not win a single new account to get there. You just stopped paying for everything twice. And here is the part that changes how you see the world. Apart, your company was worth 3 times $200,000. That is $600,000. Sal's was worth 3 times $250,000. That is $750,000. Small companies sell for small multiples. That is the rule at the bottom. But a company clearing $600,000 a year is not a small company anymore. Buyers pay more for it. 5 times, not 3, maybe 6. Same trucks, same buildings, same tired crews. The only thing that changed is the size of the number and the size of the buyer it attracts. You bought earnings at 3 times. The moment you bolted them together, the market valued them at 6. You did not create that value. You collected it. Nobody taught you this. Sal never knew it. He sold at 3 and walked away happy. You should feel like a genius. And for about a week, you do. Then you notice something strange. You beat Sal. You spent 10 years wanting to beat Sal. Now you own his company, his crews, his keys, and you feel almost nothing. The scoreboard you carried your whole life just closed, and there was nobody on the other side to watch it happen. Winning the fight was never the thing. It was only the thing you knew how to want. Then the empty feeling fades, and something worse takes its place. Hunger. Because if 1 rival made you worth double, what would 2 do? What would 3? There is a bigger fish in this town. The one account you never got. The proudest man you ever bid against. His name is Vic, and you pick up the phone. Level 4, Competitor 2. Vic is everything Sal was not. Sal was tired. Vic is proud. Vic runs the fancy operation. Matching uniforms. A logo on the van that he actually paid a designer for. He cleans the buildings that intimidate you. Glass towers. A surgery center. The medical high-rise you lost a decade ago. Vic took years after that. Vic does not want to sell because he is finished. Vic wants to sell because you offer him a number his ego cannot refuse. He makes about $500,000 a year. You pay 3 times. $1.5 million. This one you cannot fund on a handshake. Vic wants more cash up front. So you go to a bank. An SBA loan. You sign a personal guarantee. You put your house behind it. Your name is now on paper that says if this fails, they do not just take the company. They take the roof over your kids. You tell yourself it is fine. The math worked with Sal. The math is the math. But you forgot something. People are not the math. Vic's crews were loyal to Vic, to the uniforms, to the pride. The day the deal closes, you send an email that says, 1 company now, 1 name, 1 way of doing things. And Vic's best people read it as an insult. Half his crew walks inside a month. Not to a competitor. There is no competitor left. They just walk. And the buildings notice. The surgery center notices first. Their floors do not get done right 2 nights running. A supervisor calls, cold and formal. You send your own people to fix it. They do not know the building. They trip the alarm at 3 in the morning. The police come. And the surgery center, worth $30,000 a month to you, gives its 30-day notice. Now the math turns on you. Your loan payments across both deals come to $41,000 a month. The month the surgery center walks, you collect $33,000. You are short, on a Friday, with payroll due. $8,000 you do not have, owed to people who cleaned toilets all week, trusting you to pay them. You know their names. You know one of them has a daughter starting school. You know another drives an hour each way to wipe down a break room at midnight because you asked him to. These are not line items on a page. They are the reason the whole thing exists. This is the level where it almost ends, not with a crash, with a Friday, and a number that is smaller than the one you owe. You do the only thing left. You go back to Vic, not as the buyer anymore, as a man who needs him. You tear up part of the deal. Vic agrees to defer his own payments for 6 months, and Vic, because his pride cuts both ways, comes back and stands in front of his old crews himself. He asks them to stay. For him, some do. You keep the crews. You lose the surgery center for good. You keep your house by $8,000 and one humiliating phone call. You survive. You are not the same. You wanted to beat Vic your whole career. Owning him is the thing that nearly finished you, and the year is not over. Level 5, Competitor 3. You almost do not do a third. Your hands still shake a little on Fridays, but there is one more, a younger operator named Renata. Sharp, careful. She runs a lean company with no debt and no drama, and she has been watching you swallow the other two. She calls you, actually. She has read the same map you have. She knows the town is consolidating, and she would rather choose her buyer than wait for a stranger to choose her. This time, you buy like a person who has been burned. No triumphant email, no one company, one way, one name. You keep Renata's crews under Renata. You keep her routes exactly as they are. You tie her final payment to the one thing that almost killed you last time. She gets the full price only if her customers stay. Retention. The people are the value, so you pay for the people staying. She makes about $350,000 a year. You pay a bit over 3 times, around $1.1 million. Most of it a seller note again. Most of it deferred. Most of it paid by the accounts themselves. One scare still comes. A rumor moves through her crews. Big changes coming, jobs on the line. A year ago, you would have sent an email and made it worse. This time, you show up at shift change and answer questions until midnight. And because you do not touch what works, nothing breaks. No crew walks, no client leaves. The integration you botched with Vic, you do quietly with Renata over 6 patient months. You learned the expensive lesson. Buying is easy. Anyone with a signature can buy. Keeping the thing alive after you own it is the entire job. By the end of the year, you have 4 companies wearing one name. Yours, Sal's, Vic's, Renata's. Dozens of buildings, almost 60 people, a coffee can of keys that became a drawer of keys that became a wall of them. You built a platform. You did not even know that was the word for it yet. You are about to learn it, because your phone rings with a number you do not know from a city 3 hours away. Level 6, the platform. The voice on the phone is young and very polite. He works for a private equity fund. He says they are building a national platform in facility services. He says your name came up. He says you have done, in one town, exactly what they do across the country, and he would like to buy what you built. You sit down. He explains it back to you, and it is your own trick in a bigger mirror. Your 4 companies now clear about $1.6 million a year together. A company that size does not sell for 3 times. It sells for 6, maybe more. 6 times $1.6 million is close to $10 million. For a thing you assembled out of 3 men you used to hate and $100,000 you scraped together at the start. The arbitrage you ran on Sal, this fund runs on you.
They buy you at 6 times. They bolt you onto 40 other platforms just like yours. And a company that big does not sell for 6 times. It sells for 10, to someone bigger still.
And above them is a name you actually know, ABM Industries, publicly traded, a facility services giant that swallows regional platforms the way you swallowed Vic. And above ABM sit the funds that sit above almost everything. Vanguard, BlackRock, the quiet owners of the whole ladder, taking a cut of every rung of it, including the one you just spent a year climbing. You thought you were the buyer. You were always someone's competitor to buy. The fund does not fly out. Nobody drinks your terrible coffee. A lawyer emails you a link. You sign with a mouse. The money hits your account on a Tuesday, and no hand is ever offered across a desk. And you think about Sal, the coffee can of keys, warm from his pocket, the wide, calloused hand held out in your ugly little office. 10 years of hating him, and he still gave you a handshake before he gave you the keys. The fund gives you a wire and a login. It never once offers you its hand. You spent a year learning to be the buyer, and the machine above you was learning your name the whole time. Somewhere tonight, a tired man is loading floor stripper into a van older than yours. He keeps a scoreboard nobody else can see. He thinks the game is beating the other guy. He does not know yet that the game is becoming big enough to be bought. He will learn. They always do. He carries a ring of keys to buildings he will never own. So do you. So, it turns out, does everyone above you. The keys never stop changing hands. They only move to a bigger pocket. Watch the one about how the more money you owe, the more power you have.